born to dream. You were born to strive. You were born to conquer. You were born to rise. Unquote by Machona Dluveo. A very good morning to our dear students and parents who have joined us today for the personality development session on the topic Born to Win. We begin this session by invoking the blessings of God. I request Ms. Gloria to lead us in prayer.
Let us put ourselves in a prayerful posture. Gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for the blessings of this day. We pray and thank you for the management of St. Joseph's Boys High School, members of the staff, students, parents, and all those taking part in this webinar. We pray in a very special way for Mr. Sunil Mahajan, our speaker for today. Lord, we pray that you guide us by your holy inspiration. Be gracious to us in all that we endeavor to do. We pray that our weakness may be turned to strength and confidence. Fill us with your light and help us to uphold the values that enrich humanity. Lord, we are made in your likeness and image, each of us born to win. Help us, dear Lord, as we strive to do our best. Lead us on your path and guide us in your truth, that we may find serenity and purpose in doing your will. Give us the faith to walk in freedom and victory. We make this prayer in your precious name. Amen.
Thank you, ma'am. Could what you believe about yourself impact your success, failure, decision making, mindset, and attitude? According to Stanford psychologist Carl Dweck, our beliefs play a pivotal role in what we want and whether we achieve it or not. A mindset is a set of beliefs that shape how we make sense of ourselves and the world around us. It influences how we think, feel, and behave in any given situation. We have with us today Mr. Sunil Mahajan, who will give us an insight into the topic Born to Win. I request Ms. Karen to introduce our speaker for today.
Good morning, dear students. It is a great pleasure for me to introduce our speaker today, who is going to talk to us about developing a winning attitude and the choices we make along the way. This is a subject in which we are all deeply interested because it increases our self-esteem, gives us a huge confidence boost, and helps us to think strategically. Our speaker has spent almost his entire career advising students, teachers, and parents on acquiring the right attitude. He is a graduate from our very own institute, St. Joseph's College of Commerce, with a post-graduation in English from Mysore University. He is a life skills coach and mentor who has specialized in child psychology from Montfort College, Care Counseling Institute, Hyderabad, and advanced leadership skills from Haggai Institute, USA. He has further honed his craft through several self-development courses relating to youth administration and effective family communication. His organization, Pathfinder, works mainly with institutions in Karnataka and South India. He conducts life skills programs that aim to help students make better choices for their future. So, let's get ready to change our perspective and start setting ourselves up for success. Dear students, please join me in welcoming Mr. Sunil Mahajan.
Good morning to one and all, and thank you, ma'am, for introducing the session. Thank you, teachers. Thank you, friends. It's great to be back on this platform, speaking to you guys from St. Joseph's Boys School. It's always a privilege for me to contribute back to the school that both my boys have studied and I've graduated from. Thanks to the management for giving me this opportunity, even though my boys have graduated, to give me another opportunity to share my views, my thoughts on this topic of Born to Win. Uh, Born to Win is something very close to my heart because sometimes we understand that we have been told or we've been programmed to understand certain ways of understanding who are winners. We will be trying to clarify this during the session of who actually winners are and what are these winners are made of. Yeah, through the session and through a few videos, which will try to explain this, understand the concept of winners. Winners are born to win. You and I, all of us have a purpose, have a reason to in this world. No one has come here by accident, and no one is here just by chance. Each of us here are a catalyst in our own lives, providing, giving us the confidence and the encouragement that we need to face those giants, those blocks, uh, those different kind of difficulties that we encounter in our day-to-day lives. So, Born to Win will challenge us to think differently, to increase our level of self-confidence in ourselves, because everything begins with me. If I am confident, if I believe that I can do it, I will do it. And this is where we begin with. Three things I want to emphasize before I begin my session is how you think, how you speak, and how we behave. I'm going to emphasize these three things during this entire session. To try to see how we can memorize this, how to think. Our mindsets are so important. How to speak, the words I speak of affirmation, the words I speak to help me understand better will make me a winner. Not what people say, but what I feel about myself. And how I behave will impact the choices that I make because that is how the consequences will be there. Because my consequences are determined by the choices that I make. So let's begin the session of Born to Win. So now if you tell me who are winners after looking at this video, things are so different. Yeah. They're not the same way that we are perceiving things, how we are being told or how we see things. For me, winners are these kind of people, yeah, in difficult, challenging circumstances to still persevere, to still show that they can. Yeah. A winner always says, I can. Yeah. People who find it difficult and who give up says, oh, I can't. And it's really not easy. Trust me. I'll give you a small example from my own life. I remember when both my boys when they were young, most probably 6 7 years, when they were as old as that, we decided to teach them swimming. Yeah, my wife and me are okay. Now we are good swimmers, but at that time, I was very scared of water because of an incident that happened when I was growing up, and I found that I told myself I will not be able to swim ever again. I was so petrified out of water. To see water or even to go to a beach, I would hesitate and I would hold somebody's hand and go. But as I grew up as to be an adult, I got strength, but now not to swim. I always had this fear in me that if I get into water, something will happen. Yeah, who will save me? Yeah, will there be somebody to carry me? It's not that I'm like 40, 50 kilos. I'm this huge Punjabi guy, huge tagda fellow, about 95 kilos. It's not easy to lift me out from water, especially. Yeah, I can pull you down. All these questions are there, and I would actually question myself: am I going to learn how to get into the water and swim like my boys? My boys, when they were, I remember my eldest fellow when he was 7 or 8 years, he would go and start jumping and do the back twist, this, and he would show off doing all the things that he learned. And I would ask myself, would I be able to do at least not all the things that these guys are doing? Something, at least jumping in the water and trying to swim, trying to be afloat. And it took me a long time. I was in my early 30s when I actually learned swimming. Yeah, about 36 hours. Yeah, so about 10 plus years ago is when I actually went to the water and I left my hands and I got the courage to say, I can. And that is sometimes winners have challenges, have struggles. Yeah. So positive thinking will always, yeah, let you do everything better than negative thinking will. If you think positive, you will think positive, you will do positive, you will see positive, you will speak positive. So three things I wanted to memorize, yeah, is how you think, how you speak, and how you behave. It's very crucial to be a winner because everything begins with your mindset. If you look at the video that which we saw the Paralympics of these people, nobody would can when could say that I'm looking and saying, oh, they're handicapped, they don't have a limb, they don't have this, they don't have that. I don't think they can do anything. Forget about working on a computer. Yeah, driving a car, flying a plane, let it be playing football, blind people playing football, never heard of it. But there you have it. Yeah, it's something that we can feel, see, and experience, and that's what is winners are made of. Positive thinking to believe in yourself that you can do it. Nothing more, nothing less, and nothing else. And that is what changes us to be people who are winners. So if you think that you are a winner, ask yourself, how do you think? Are you competitive? Are you always comparing yourself with other people? If you're a winner, are you comparing yourself? Because winners don't compare. Winners challenge themselves. I don't know, most probably you have heard of this person called Usain Bolt. He's one of the fastest sprinters in the world. And Usain Bolt did not want to be a sprinter, a runner. He wanted to join the South African cricket team. But his father convinced him and said, you got legs that God has given you. It is meant to run, not to go behind a ball, but run on the racetrack. And today we have this person called Usain Bolt, is one of the fastest sprinters in the world. Yeah. Now we have a lady who's also beaten his record, nevertheless. But I'm talking about Usain Bolt. Usain Bolt, when he's running, he never looks at the person who's on his right or left. He's just looking at the front. He's like this horse with blinders that is focused on his goal. His objective. He's not looking and saying, oh, I have to beat this person, I have to beat my right, my left, their competition. They could be from the same country, but I need to be there. No. Winners are not competitive. Winners choose to think differently. Winners rise above the rest. So if you're looking at being a winner, or if you're a winner, ask yourself, do I see competition? Do I look at other people and believe, oh, he's got few marks extra, so should I get more marks than them? Oh, he's got this toy, or he's got that game, or he has this thing. Should I get something better? That is not winner. Yeah. This person called William Blake, yeah, he said there are two most important days in a person's life. Two most important days. And if we were together, most probably a smaller group, or if we were back in school, I would have this interactive session. But the two most important days, yeah, give yourself 30 seconds to ask, what are the two most important days in your life? Some of us would say it's birthday, my death day, or other days, I don't know. But these are the two most important things that people think. But this is what the William Blake says, or Mark Twain. Yeah, the two most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out the reason you were born for. You're not born by accident. You're not here by chance. You're not here by coincidence. You're not left here by without any particular purpose. You're here because there's a reason and a purpose behind it. Now it is up to you to choose and find out what is that purpose. Why you are here. As I said earlier, a life that is not examined is not worth living. Have you examined how you're living your life during this quarantine, during this pandemic? What are the kind of choices? A lot of parents they ask me to help them with their kids as young as 7, 8 years old. Yeah, try to help them out because studying online from home is a challenge. Some children are easy to learn. Some children find it difficult. So parents ask me for help, and most of the time, one of their concerns are my child is playing games online when there is classes going on. My child is so good at games that he would play games but he can't focus on his studies. So I remember having this one conversation and talking to this one kid who was in the fifth grade, mostly sometime in the month of August. And so I was asking, I said, so what game you played? And he was sharing with me the games he played, which most probably I was not too, I did not did my research on the games that are right now played by youngsters. And I said, it was a car game, I remember. And and he was telling me about this game, and I said, so you spend how much time into understanding this game? He said, yeah, I spent a couple of hours on KL and I spent this amount of time and all that. I said, oh wow. So that means you're able to learn something online without having a book in front of you. Yeah? And he said, yes. So I said, you're able to learn something without having a book in front of you. You're able to understand the rules of that game without anybody's help. He said yes. And the third thing, you're able to do it and you are able to compete with other people online. He said yes. So online, when I say it's most of his class friends. So three things he said yes to. And then I asked him, I said, so tell me, what is that one challenge that you find with studying online then, with your school? He had no answer. So it's all because we put this block in our minds or an obstacle in our minds or put this wall in between me and my thinking that online studying is difficult or impossible. I'm not able to understand the teacher teaching me because the subject is this or whatever it is. But when you are doing other things, ask yourself what is holding you from listening to your teacher and understanding a math sum or understanding your geography, your science or English or Hindi or whatever it is. Of course, there are some subjects that are really difficult to understand, but then you need some help. I'm sure your parents are there to assist you for that. Or if you find it more difficult, there would be tuitions to help you. But nevertheless, so when I come back to this, I say the two most important is finding out the reason why you're born and to find out what is your purpose. If you find out that, then life becomes more easy. It's not a challenge. It's not a chore to do that you get up in the morning, I have to go to the toilet, brush my teeth, have a walk, this, and becomes a routine. It doesn't, because life is exciting. I was just talking just before this program could start. I was talking to this fellow who has an OCD problem, over compulsive disorder. That means to do something repetitively because there is some issue, there's some problem with the mind. Yeah, it's a disorder that is there. And so he was talking to me. He's about 30 plus years old, and so he's trying to help me and say, he's saying, my mother is not giving me, give me attention to do this and to do that. I'm not able to learn my computer lessons online. I want somebody to come and teach me. So I was making him understand certain things. He's not that he's not, he's finished his 10th, he's graduated, BSc, he's finished his master's, his MBA, he's educated, he's done well. It's not that he found, it was difficult and challenging during those times of during his college and during his other years, but he managed to succeed and come out with good marks. So I was making him understand that why do you see things difficult? Everything begins here. And as I said, three things: how you think, how you speak, and how you behave. These are things you need to always remember. Another question, yeah, that you could ask yourself: which is the tallest tree in the world? Which is the tallest tree in the world? Some of us might know the answer, some of us may say a lot of different answers. Yeah? But let me give you the answer. It's called the giant redwood tree. If you look at your image on the left hand side, you see there's at the end of the bark, which is the trunk of the tree, which is at the ground level. You can see that one small little man looking upwards. So that is as huge as it gets. Yeah, that's a giant redwood tree. It's found in the southern state of California, in the United States, and it's a protected species of trees that people just don't burn. But you cannot just burn a redwood tree easy. Yeah, I will explain this to you. But another picture to show you what is a redwood tree. See this. Yeah, most probably other parts of the world they will chop off a tree to create a road. But look at this part of the world, how they've done. Yeah, they've made an opening in the tree that like a truck or a vehicle can move inside. That is how huge its trunk is. And they say, based on the trunk is the height of the tree. So let's see what more details we can see about the tree. Before that, this is the seed of a redwood tree. That seed is actually, my sister had been to in California many years ago, about more than 5, 6 years ago. And this is the tree that, the seed that she had on her index finger, and she took a picture of it. And I was surprised. Such a small seed, and look at it, huge. I'm not able to understand such a small tree, and we have this huge tree and such a small seed. That is what it is. Yeah. The size of the seed does not matter to the extent that the tree can actually branch out and show its full potential of what it was created to be, what its objective of becoming. And that is what the redwood tree is doing to us today. It's showing us that this is its purpose, that to grow from that small seed into this huge, gigantic seed tree, which is 370 feet tall. That is really, really high. 370 feet. Yeah, it grows. That's the height it grows. It approximately lives to about 600 years. That's a long time. And the oldest tree right now is about 2,200 years. Yeah, that is the facts of this tree. And we need to understand these facts. Why? I'm just telling you this because to understand that you are not here by chance. You're here with a purpose, you're here with a plan, you're here to do something extraordinary, not ordinary things. Yeah? If you read the pages of history of history, let it be Indian or let it be world history, there are people who have come from simple backgrounds and become extraordinary persons. What are the examples I'll give you? Yeah, from India. His name is called his real name was called Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, as we know him as Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He is the father of the Constitution of India. Yeah, so if you go to the Vedant Sada, you'll see his statue of his. Yeah, he's holding the Constitution of India and he's telling people to move ahead. And he did not come from a very big background, very influential, very rich background. He was actually his family was an outcast. His parents were untouchables. Yeah, the Shudras. Yeah, as we in our caste system in India we say, people who are sidelined by society. But he did not give up his dream of doing something extraordinary with his life. He said, I want to be better than my father, better than everybody else who thinks I can be. And today, we have it in the history of India, plus in world history, we see. Bhimrao Ambedkar, who struggled, who was not allowed to be a part of the main classroom like you and I have. You have the privilege of having a teacher in front of you, you have a smart board, you have this, you have all these facilities while you're in school. He was not given that opportunity. He would be asked to sit right at the back outside. It was an open area, and he was asked to sit right outside next to a place where most probably he would be finding it difficult to hear the teacher. And the worst of it, the simple, very simple, another example is that when he wanted to drink water, he was not allowed to go to the place to drink water like other children. There was one particular person who was assigned to drink water, and if that person would not come, he would not get water to drink. So those are the circumstances that he grew to becoming today who we know as Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar. So, as I said, it does not depend on where you are. It depends on what you're going to become. That is what winners are. Yeah, the redwood tree does not only grow in the best of season; it grows in every season. This is a picture of snow or winter, and see if you look at its branches, it's green. It's a part of the evergreen trees. It never grows brown. Its leaves never withers because that's what its identity is, to be consistent always. Yeah, it thinks differently, it speaks differently, and it behaves differently. And that is the reason we find it during all seasons of the year of the year to be who it is. Some of the things the redwood tree is, it's insect resistant. Yeah, so it's not termite. So no termites can go and eat it up from inside out, and the barks are damaged. Yeah, you cannot. It's fire resistant. If you look at it itself, the bark has a kind of glue, or kind of a glue substance that coats the bark that protects it from any kind of fire. So no forest fire can burn a redwood tree. I'm like, wow, amazing. I would like to be like a redwood tree, living myself green throughout the year. Yeah, enjoying myself not be eaten by termites and other insects, and to be not burnt in fire. But we are different. We have a different purpose. We have a different way of living. So what stops us uh, from being confident? What are the challenges that stops us from being a winner? Some of the things that I think, yeah, based on my experience and some things that I have also experienced, yeah, in my own life, things that I keep on telling myself. I must always be perfect. I'm unworthy. I'm not good enough. And I constantly say, I must not make a mistake. Nobody loves me. I can't do this. When you suppose you're in school and your teacher would say, do this, Amit, or whatever your name is, and you say, no, sir, I cannot do this. Let him do it, or let the other person do, or something the other. We give excuses for sometimes the other of doing things. Yeah, because we find that we are not able to do it. It's not that we can't do it. It's just that some of we tell ourselves that I can't do it. Yeah, I'm not good enough. I cannot run. I cannot play. I remember my eldest son, when he was in the fourth or fifth grade. He used to love to play football. He's a footballer. He's a midfielder right now. He plays for some friends and all that as a hobby, as a sport that he enjoys. But in school, during the breaks, he would like to play with his friends. And because he was a little on the plump side, his friends will say, "Hey, you're fat, man. You can't play. Yeah. You're not good enough. You must be perfect. You must be the slim guy who can run, who can do this. If you're not this, you can't play football. You can't play hockey. You can't play with us. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't eat with us. You can't You can't be our friends." There's such a lot of things that keep on blocking our minds, and that's why we become so negative in our thinking, and we say, "I'm not a winner. I'm not able to do this. I'm not able to achieve this." Both my sons, yeah, they sing well. Yeah, they have won a lot of competitions. The To the OBA, they have won a lot of OBA competitions and other individual competitions and all that. And I remember that I was telling myself, as they suppose they grow up and they become competitive, what happens? Yeah, it'd be difficult to cite anybody. But so beautifully that as parents, we were guiding them and telling them, each of you have got a different way of looking at things. So don't be competitive. Don't look at comparisons. And when they came to a point in their life when they were most probably on the same level of a competition or whatever, they had different ways, tone of singing. Yeah, my eldest son would sing a high pitch, and my younger son would have a different pitch altogether. He's more of a bass. Yeah, and that's how they are. And they still sing, they still make videos, they still have friends who encourage them because they're two different identities, they're two unique people, and there's no comparison between them. It's because we have taught them, so we need to encourage them. You need to encourage yourself. As parents, as your mother and father, if they're listening, as parents, we need to encourage our kids and try to remove this burden of competitiveness between kids, between siblings, between your brother and sister, or your elder brother, your elder sister, or what it is that you have. Yeah, or between friends, between cousins. Competition within myself is something I will promote, I will encourage. Be competitive with your own self. See, yesterday I was like this, today I can be better. Let me see, I can be better. That is your competition, not with the persons at home or your friends in your classroom. No. Yeah. So some of the things that you have to start removing is your negative thinking. Once you start removing that, you're able to say this along with me. No one can make you feel inferior without your permission or consent. No one can make you feel bad. No one can make you feel small. No one can make you say that you cannot do this. You're unfit, you're unworthy, you are not good enough, you're not intelligent, you can't do this, you can't do that. Nobody can make you feel that way without you giving them permission or consent. It's like a boat. If you go to Also Lake or any other place where there are boats, or if you've gone on a boat in some place, the boat is in the water and the water cannot come inside the boat. But if there's a hole, then there's a chance of the water coming into the boat. So those are holes that you give people to make in our lives to let that water come into it. So if you don't allow those people to make those holes or punch holes into your life and say negative things, you will not be able to give them permission to enter into your mind, to put negative thoughts or tell you that you're not able to do things. You need to make that. Yeah? So today I'm going to challenge you with something different. I'm going to challenge you. Yeah? And what is the challenge? Moving from the comfort zone to your current zone. Moving from the things that I normally usually do, things that I enjoy doing, relaxing, safety, security. When was the last time that you tried to do something different? Maybe you want to try your hand in painting or something else at home because you're not able to go out, or try a new sport. Yeah, with the permission of your parents, of course. So when was the last time you tried to do something extraordinary with your time? You've got so much of free time right now. Yeah? During your weekends, during your holidays, things that are difficult, let me try to do that. Things that I'm afraid of, like me, I was afraid of water. I overcame it. It did not become, it wasn't an easy thing at times to tell my friends that I can't swim, I can't get into water. But then I overcame it. Explore things that you have not, you have in your mind, but you cannot. I love biking. Yeah. And the longest trip I've made is from here to Pune. But I want to go to Leh Ladakh. Yeah, I was trying to go last year, but the pandemic happened. But I want to do a Bangalore to Ladakh, 3,600 kilometers, sheer experience, alone by myself. Maybe some friends, a few friends of mine may join us. But I would want to do that. Explore difficult situations. Yeah, opportunities, bravery, things. Don't be brave in certain things that is not your age. Try to do things that are meant to be done for you. There are so many things that you can do. Things with your own. Let's look at studies. A difficult subject. Yeah, a challenging subject. It could be any subject you can choose. How can I get myself better with that? How can I make myself improve with that? What are the ways that I can use? Most probably speak to your chair, your language chair, your subject chair, or get help from your friends, or get help from your parents, or possibly get a tutor to help you. There are so many things, but we need to raise our hands and ask for that help, and then only we move from the comfort zone to our current zone. Before I go to the next thing, I would like to show another video. Yeah, and this video is about. It's called Gabe Adams. He was born without hands and legs. Okay, he was born like this. But amazing, this kid, the way he has extraordinarily moved himself and become somebody different. And I'm sure we can learn something from it.
Hair, pours his own milk, he writes, he types in school. No big deal for a 12-year-old boy, right? Well, what if we told you he's doing it all without any arms or any legs?
We first introduced you to Gabe Adams 12 years ago when he arrived in Salt Lake. 4 years ago, we brought you an update. And now tonight, we once again go inside the incredible life of Gabe Adams. Dan Ruscone spent the day with Gabe, and Dan, no feeling sorry for yourself on any level when you meet this little boy.
Yeah, that's for sure. You know, you could be having one of the worst days ever there. Your back or body could be hurting and aching. You could be feeling tired and worn out, or confused and depressed. But get around Gabe Adams, and suddenly all your problems are of little importance.
Start right from the beginning.
Here at Kaysville Elementary,
Show me. I have her husband's thumb.
sixth graders are practicing their lines
You're giving this little speech.
for Shakespeare's classic play, Macbeth.
A drum.
The sound of the drum announces the arrival of the future king. But in this play, Macbeth
Speak if you can. What are you?
has no arms and no legs, a sight you have to see to believe. The actor, the one and only Gabe Adams.
To what do you owe this strange intelligence?
But acting is just a small sampling of what this incredible 12-year-old boy is capable of doing.
I can write, I can type, I can draw. 7. I can go up and down the stairs. I can pick things up and stuff.
And he can jump on the tram, swim in a pool, pour his own milk, put on his own shirt, comb his own hair, and sing. Yes, Gabe Adams does it all without limbs. Tell me what you want people to know about you.
That I can do it. I can do it with a smile on my face.
Why a smile?
Because smile will help everything.
Gabe was born in Brazil without arms and legs and abandoned by his mother.
He was in a hospital bed all by himself.
Little Gabe's story traveled all the way to Kaysville, Utah.
I heard about him in the grocery store. I said immediately, well, I'd take him in a second. And then started laughing. That was the beginning of it for me. And so then I just couldn't get him out of my head.
Before long, the Adams were at the airport to pick up Gabe. Everyone quickly fell in love with his big brown eyes. The Adams say it was one miracle after another to get him here.
Every single qualification just taken care of right in line.
But Gabe wasn't adopted into some family that was just going to baby him.
Let's just have a quick prayer.
Every morning at 6:30,
Any of the Jews.
the day starts with scripture study.
Judy,
Nobody holds the Bible for Gabe or turns the pages. And he too is expected
Jesus was not yet.
to read like everyone else.
Mary sat still.
And there's no sitting still once scripture study is done. The techno music is cranked,
Here you go.
and Gabe is off doing his morning exercises.
Going up and down the stairs 20 times in 20 minutes. 6.
This builds muscle,
9.
character, and most of all, independence. Gabe calls it.
Tough love.
And next come the sit-ups.
It's like a tail.
Without this move, he couldn't get up on his own.
I push him hard.
After the workout, Gabe takes off his own shirt and clothes, throwing them in the laundry. After the shower, he gets dressed, does his hair, and then prepares and eats his own breakfast. No one there to spoon feed this growing boy.
So it's always been our goal to allow Gabe freedom, and choices that we know will only come if he can be independent.
But if he could get up and down the stairs himself, if he could walk across the room himself, all of those things give him freedom to do what he wants to do.
They're helping me out in my future. They want me to learn it because they know that I can. I just need to try.
The only free ride Gabe gets is on his wheelchair that he rides to school. The chair is controlled by his head, and he loves to go fast.
Your spelling notebook.
Once in school, he sits at a desk like everyone else
Number 7 is cell membrane.
and is expected to keep up with the spelling test
Number 8 is waning crescent.
like everyone else. And his shoulder and chin writing is amazing.
So who's sending you letters?
Betty Cleaver is Gabe's teaching aide. She's been helping him since preschool.
Just amazing. I get emotional because it's unusual that you don't see this every day.
No, it's not something you see every day. It may be just a tiny thing next to 7'6" Sean Bradley. But day after day, Gabe inspires, lifts, and brightens the mood of all who meet him.
I don't feel like I have the right even to be depressed when I have him there, because everything he does is so much more work than the average person.
A great kid. He's got a disposition that's just positive. He's happy.
I love him so much. I want for him to be able to feel good about himself, to feel confident, to feel like he is able to go forth in life and do what he wants to do.
You have to face the challenges that get in front of you.
Incredible young boy there. One of the requirements to get Gabe here is he had to be sponsored by a hospital and a doctor who agreed to pay all medical costs. But according to his parents, Gabe has not been to the hospital once. And when asked what he wants to do when he grows up, get this, he says he wants to be an art teacher. Pretty amazing goal for a kid. with no arms.
And you
Quite the
needed to
story.
bring tissues. You had seen that story. We had
That
not.
is just,
My
you
gosh.
you walk out of meeting Gabe and you just, all your problems go away.
I am
It's insignificant.
I'm flabbergasted.
Yeah.
I mean, what a inspiration! What an amazing kid! I mean,
Yeah.
that's just. Thanks for bringing us that story,
Thank you.
Dan. That made our night. It really did.
Amazing.
All right.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
If you listen to what Gabe's life tells, this is what I most probably we could summarize. You are who you are because of what has gone into your mind. You can change who you are by changing what goes into your mind. And that's what needs to be done today. Not tomorrow, today. Yeah? Maybe people have been telling you a lot of things about yourself which are not very positive. Could be negative things. Yeah? You do not know the circumstances or the situations. But you can change how you receive those things. We cannot stop people from speaking whatever they want to speak about us, but we can change how we receive that and what goes into our mind. That makes you a winner. That what makes the difference. Yeah? And that what will change you from where you are right now to you becoming and understanding the purpose that you are built for. No one is here by accident. Again, I'm reiterating or focusing on those three things that I initially said. You have control over three things. And what are they? What you think, what you say, and how you behave. You can make a change in your life, not mommy's or daddy's or your friend's life, but you can make a change in your life. So you must recognize these gifts and use them in shaping to form your life as a winner. Yeah. So you have the control. Yeah. Because if you give people control, they're going to make you feel bad. They're going to make you feel that you're not worth it. But you can change that thinking. You can say that today I am different. I want to be different. I want to change the way I think. I want to change the way I feel. I want to start changing the way I speak. That will make you a winner. You are born to win, but to be a winner, you must plan, you must prepare, and then only you can expect to win. No winner for any game. Even if you talk about this new guy, a person who's won the javelin, Neeraj Pandey. Yeah? He didn't decide that I'm going to enter the Olympics and win. No, he had to plan, he had to prepare, he had to put all his effort, his best effort, 100%, irrespective of his circumstances, irrespective of his situation, irrespective of his family. He had to put everything that he believed in himself. And then he was able to believe that he would throw. If you have the time, you can go back to YouTube and just try to locate that video about Neeraj winning the javelin throw. If you notice, when he threw the javelin, he didn't look for the judge. He didn't look for people to look at the scoreboard. He immediately knew that he was the best. He knew he was going to win, and that's how his body reacted. He immediately gave that reaction of a winner. And that's how he believed in himself. A winner will always believe in themselves. My last slide. Life is without meaning to bring meaning to it. The meaning of life is whatever you ascribe it to be. Being alive is the meaning. Yeah, to be alive. Experience life. Experience life the way you want to be. Do things that you have never tried before. Things that you can control. Things that your parents are giving permission to. Don't just go and say, I listened today about doing something I want to do. No, that's wrong. Do things with an adult supervision. Things that you are able to do in your age right now, as you are in your age bracket. Try to do things. You can do it if you believe that you can do it. And at the end of it, I would say, it all comes to whatever you believe. How you think, how you speak, and how you behave. If you look at these three things in your life, my guarantee to you that you will eventually overcome those difficult challenges, those difficult situations, and become a winner. I'm not talking about academics. I'm not talking about competitions. I'm not talking about anything that is related to what your friends are doing. I'm talking about doing something different, something extraordinary. And that is what it means to be a winner. So remember, you are born to win. and nobody can stop you from being a winner, and the only person can stop you is you. Remember that. The only person who can stop you is you, no one else. So I would like to stop you with this. I like to stop with this, and I would like to. I think I will just hand it over to the person who's going to handle the Q&A sessions. But so feel free that I'm sure if you have any questions, you can you have put up on the chat box. Feel free to type it out, and I think Sanjana Chur would read it for us, and I will see how I can help in answering those questions related to the topic that we had. Thank you. Over to you, ma'am.
It is now time for an interactive session. We have a few questions raised by parents and students. I request Ms. Deeksha to put forth the questions on their behalf.
Yes, we are in the Q&A session. So we have a few questions from parents, from students as well. So I'd like to thank you for a very good perspective of how boys can understand the new learning, online education, and how to embrace it with a new mindset or thinking positively and handling it. Thank you, sir. You have a first question. This is from a parent. It says this: we always teach our children to win, but forget to teach them how to cope with failures. This leads to issues like depression, anxiety, and emotional stress. How can we teach our children to get up and get going every time they fall?
Okay. Thank you for the question, ma'am. I think it's not one parent. I think all of us as parents have this issue. And it's not easy, especially during this pandemic time, when the child is always has to be online, and some children may find it difficult, find it really challenging to understand online when they're used to offline classes. Yeah, that's one of the concerns that a lot of parents have asked me to help. Somewhere I'm being able to help them. Sometimes it's challenging. I understand that. But what I would say is that it all depends as me as a parent, how I handle my child, how I communicate to them. Yeah, failure is a part of all our lives. As a parent, when I look at my failures and I look at how my parents handled it, it was totally different. Yeah, it was not educated. Yeah, it was like, oh, you can't do this, you're a failure. Yeah, that's how most parents, most probably our parents, my parents had done it. But I changed the way of parenting with my boys. Yeah, and wasn't easy. Yeah, because sometimes to unlearn the things we have learned takes a longer time. Okay, it's not easy. It's easier said than done, they say. But for me, I believe it's a journey. But we should not give up. When we want to get the best of our children, there's one thing as parents, I believe, as a parent, that means my wife and me believe, that we never give up on our child. Yeah, failures will come knocking at their door. Failures will push them down. But how can I be with them and journey with them during the failure in communicating with them positively is the difference. Yeah, I don't think children can just say, okay, I can't tell my son, hey, Nikhil, just dust yourself and get up. I don't think as a 10-year-old kid he'll understand the entire concept of getting up and dusting and moving on. No, it's a behavior that needs to be repetitively told to the child once, no, but time and time again. Then only he or she will understand. It all, as I say, depends on how you communicate, your body language, your tone, and above all, the words that you speak. The words are assertive. Yeah, assertive communication is the key. That's all I can say now. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So true. It's a journey that never ends. And yes, every child has the potential to be a winner. He only needs to dare and believe what he is looking forward for. So moving on to the second question. This is from a student. I am good at cricket and I dream to play for the Indian cricket team someday. But my parents say that everyone cannot be a Tendulkar or Dhoni. and that concentrating on my studies is the only way to achieve anything in life. How can I fulfill my dreams without giving in to how can I fulfill my dreams without giving in to others' expectation?
Yeah, I understand. To that kid, to that child, I would say that Mahendra Singh Dhoni, he didn't become Captain Cool easily overnight. Yeah, if you go to Google and check on his bio, he was a football or goalkeeper. Yeah, in the Ranchi club. That's what that's what who he was initially, and accidentally he was just called because there was a person missing from the cricket team and he was called over, and that's how the entire career and he became who he is to us, one of the greatest captains of the Indian team. Yeah? And even though under pressure, he's still called Captain Cool. Yeah, he's still called. But all those things, as I said, it depends on those three factors that I would keep on asking you to repeat yourself: how you think, how you speak, and how you behave. Yeah, people will say a lot of things. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent and permission. Yeah, your parents, your friends cannot tell you that you can't become what you want to do. That is what I've learned. If you look at both my, I mean, I give an example of my own children because from there is what I learned, and that is where I'm able to communicate what we can do different with our children. Yeah, and when I look at my own boys, I tell them they have done things differently. Yeah, they have done things extraordinarily different as being brothers. Yeah, and but we as then you must keep on. At times, I have told my son some things which he did not want to listen. It's not that I've been a perfect mother or a father, but then we need to constantly tell ourselves that people around us will have a lot of voices. Many voices will speak to us, but we need to listen to the voice within us, and that is the voice that will be your voice that will help you to become a winner. That's all I can say.
Okay, this is the third question. How does a 10 or a 12-year-old child plan to win and prepare himself for the win? Sometimes I get distracted and my attention diverts quickly, mostly with gadgets.
I think that is one of the challenges for every child right now, that their mind and their focus is so much on everything else except studies. Yeah, and I'm sure your teachers also have the same concern. Yeah, that you are focusing on other things and rather than your studies. And I really cannot give the perfect answer that will suit your understanding. But all I can say is, if you can spend so much of time in focusing on other things, think about your future. Think about something that you want to aspire to be. You can't be doing right now what you're doing is one thing, studying. Yeah, I would encourage you. That is your main focus. You get diverted. Your mind is getting sidelined by a lot of things because the online, and also I'm sure in the classroom also it could have been a concern. Yeah, we're talking to our friends. Friends are distracting us. We're turning back. We're looking at this person. We're getting a lot of things. So the situation has just changed to my home from the classroom. That's it. But how can I change my focus is depending on you. It's like a cat. That's what I'm trying to understand. A cat, when it wants to drink milk and suddenly it goes away, what we would do is catch it by the collar and bring it back to the saucer of milk. Yeah. So to make it drink. Yeah. So that is something that I would encourage you to constantly say. Keep something in front of you. Okay. Then let me just share one small example. My youngest son, he was about 100 plus kilos. I'm being honest and saying, okay, I'm sure his right now his teacher is there, Miniature. She will know that this huge child was 118 kilos. Today he's 78. If you go to his Facebook profile, you'll be surprised. You know what he's done? He's just kept his 9th standard Golumolu picture of his A4 size. He has taken a print and kept it in front of his cupboard. And that is his encouragement and focus. He would get up every morning, look at that and says, today I still have to go back and do my workout. He may be tired, he may be exhausted. Online classes are from 8:30 to 1 o'clock. He has other things, but he would say, no, today I still make time to work out. So that is your focus. So find something to get yourself to focus. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, I gave you an example, but you need to find that one thing that is going to help you to focus. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Rightly said. Every choice has a consequence, and boys need to think. Start it at the earliest. This is your right age, and just keep winning. The last question for the day, sir.
Okay.
Due to the current pandemic situation, students are missing interaction with their peers, fun with their friends, which they do on a normal schooling day. What is your message to help them cope with this situation?
That I would still say, based on the parents, how flexible they are in allowing their child to meet with their friends or have sleepovers. Yeah, I encourage sleepovers. Yeah, my friends, my boys have got a good circle of very nice friends. Some friends have moved out of boys' school, but they still have sleepovers. Yeah, they still meet together. My eldest is 20. He still has sleepovers with his friends who have left school in the 7th and 8th standard. Even though he wasn't in boys' school till the entire 10th standard, but still he has friends from boys' school who still they meet together. They have friends. Yeah, so you need to find that as a parent, you need to be in control, and you need to find how much of freedom you want to allow your child to mingle with or to go around with their group of friends. Yeah, for example, I remember that there's a parent who's got a kid or got two kids, one girl, one boy, and he organized a football team for girls and boys together. Surprisingly, he took them to an indoor football ground and bought about 10 kids on each side, mixed with about four girls and 6 boys from different backgrounds, starting from 10 to 13 or 14 years old. Yeah, some of them were known to each other, some were not known to each other, but it was an amazing experience. I was there personally. Yeah, and it was something that was very unique. So we can try something like this during the pandemic. Yeah, if you think that your child needs to bond with other friends apart from his classmates or other people, there are places that they can bond. But especially with their friends, I would say sleepovers are the best. Why? Because parents are in control. That's all I can say.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you for all the aspects that you shared during this session and even during this Q&A interaction. So with that, I'd like to say thank you and say, boys, given your best at everything that you do, and no tree has a set limit of growth, so you can choose your height. Thank you.
Thank you, parents and students, for those thought-provoking questions. Thank you, Mr. Sunil, for your patience in answering all the questions. It has been a very interesting session and we would have loved to carry on. However, we are bound by time. I quote, "Gratitude is a powerful catalyst for happiness. It is a spark that lights a fire of joy in your soul." Unquote, by Amy Collette. I invite Ms. Lata to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you means the gratefulness one has, and it has been used quite often. However, today, our thank you means much more. Thank you, Mr. Sunil Mahajan, for your time, your experience, and your willingness to share your ideas with us. I would like to quote Zig Ziglar, "You're born to win, but to be a winner, you must plan to win. Prepare to win and expect to win." Knowing our values, personality, needs, habits, emotions, strengths, and weaknesses gives us a sense of who we are and a vision of the person we want to become. This is what we have learned today from you. With all gratefulness, I would like to thank our principal, Reverend Father Sunil Fernandez, SJ, our administrator, Reverend Father Vishal D'Souza, SJ, and the technical support staff for helping us to make this knowledge sharing possible. We thank you, students, for your patient listening. Hope you will use these strategies in your life. Dear parents and students, have a pleasant day.